This is the Boomtank Business Show. I am Carolyn Cole, your show host and founder of Boomtank.com. Boomtank is where business success and happiness meet. For nearly 2 decades, I was a Fortune 100 and Fortune 200 senior company trial attorney. Now I make the case on behalf of your business dreams and happiness too. If you're looking for more business, personal, or professional success and happiness, this is your show. I can help you create all of that. You deserve to have it all, and you can. Let's go. Hey there, and welcome to episode 85 of the Boomtank Business Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I announced in these recent episodes, I am repurposing the audio from my Winning in Business live show live streams here on this podcast. And you can catch that show every Tuesday, high noon Eastern Standard Time on Facebook.com/The Boomtank. I also put it on my blog at Boomtank.com and on YouTube, YouTube.com/user/The Boomtank. Shortly, I roll out live stream show number 3 for the summer months. On this Winning in Business live show episode, my guest is Erin Dickins. She is the co-founder of the top musical group, The Manhattan Transfer. Award-winning Erin performs nationally and internationally as an all-star jazz vocalist, and now she has her own exciting gourmet seasoning line, aptly named Sizzle Swing. We talk life, musical success, business success, tipping points, and of course, personal success and happiness. No more delay. Let's bring Erin on the show. All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Winning in Business Live. This is going to be a great show. If you're joining live, thank you for joining live. If you're watching the replay, thank you so much for watching the replay. I always talk about one sheets with my audience because I actually give them to my clients. I have a template. So this is Erin's one sheet. It's very, very nice. I love your one sheet. And I'm going to be reading from Erin's one sheet. For those who do not know, you need to get seen and get heard. Visibility is the lifeblood of your business. And if you're on a mission, it's the lifeblood of your mission. You have to get seen. You have to get heard. And one of the best ways to do that is to put together a professional media one sheet and get it out there so you have your voice be heard. You can be invited to interviews just like we're doing here today. Really great stuff. Actually, Erin was referred in to me by Paul Cullen. So we're very happy about that, right? 2 musical stars right here, right?
Absolutely. A fabulous friend.
So that you know, Erin and Paul just performed here at the beach Sunday night, and it was a rocking time, correct?
Oh, absolutely. We did a phenomenal gourmet meal and then sat down and just rocked some tunes and had a big time.
Let me read from this, and then we're going to jump right in. An award-winning jazz vocalist and founding member of the Manhattan Transfer, Erin Dickins has enjoyed a career most singers dream about. After 5 years singing ensemble music with the Manhattan Transfer, she emerged as one of the top studio singers in New York. Dickins toured and recorded with many notable artists, including Leonard Cohen, Bette Midler, James Taylor, The Talking Heads, James Brown. Is it Jaco Pastorius? I want to put the ja in there.
Jaco
Pastorius, Ashford and Simpson, to name a few. She also recently released her latest album called Vignettes, so I ask you to check that out. She is also passionate about cooking. In fact, she's as passionate about cooking as she is about music. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely.
In 2014, she released a cookbook with an accompanying CD, Sizzle Swing, Jazzing Up Food, and you launched your new herbal seasoning line, and that's gourmet seasoning, with the moniker, it's called Sizzle Swing. How exciting is that? You are in the spice business / seasoning business. You like it so far?
It's all the same thing. I think food and music are the same thing. They're creative, they're nurturing, they're entrepreneurial, they're improvisational. And so, yeah, I love it. What's not to love?
What's not to love? I love that. All right. She was voted. You've been voted a lot of things, but I'm just going to grab one of the things here. Best jazz vocalist by Coffee Talk Jazz Radio in Los Angeles. You've literally been all over the world. And even now you book engagements all over the world, all through this country, performing. So you have lived the life of a performer. You find that very exciting because it sounds amazing.
It is and it isn't. The moment when we are interacting as musicians and interacting with audiences are inspirational and a huge gift and exciting beyond words. The work of it and the touring and the traveling, very challenging and exhausting and not glamorous at all, as people might think, but I wouldn't give it up.
Years ago, I took a job with IBM, and in 1 week's time, I was in New York City, Piscataway, New Jersey, Kansas, and one other location. My first 6 weeks with them, I was feeling like a rock star, not from an ego standpoint, but I felt like, wow, I'm traveling, I'm doing all this amazing stuff. And then that 1 week hit when it finally kept accelerating. I was in 4 places, 2 different countries in like a 4.5 day period. And I said, not fun, right? Not fun. So let's go back. And I understand what you're saying. So let's go back to the beginning and we'll get into your entrepreneurial piece. Then we're going to discuss success and happiness throughout. When we look back in time, when did you make the decision to be a singer? Or were you just always a singer from the time you were small?
I always was. I was always a singer. My dad was an incredibly gifted amateur musician, played piano and guitar and banjo and could play anything by ear. And so there was always music in the house. Got me a guitar early on. And, you know, I was singing and playing guitar from maybe age, 8 or so, and loved it. My mom sent me to college in Virginia to try and keep me away from New York.
Where'd you go to college in Virginia? I went to college in Virginia, undergrad anyway.
Hollins.
Randolph-Macon Women's College. Woohoo! Right around the corner. Isn't that so funny? And I had a cousin that went to Sweetbriar.
Yeah, went to Sweetbriar, but my mom wisely did not think it would be a fit for me. And
okay, good Hollins girl. I actually have a friend who teaches there still. So really interesting. When did you make the decision to be a performer?
While I was at Hollins, actually. I grew up in New York, and so Mom thought, the farther away from the city and music I can keep her, the better, because she was terrified I was going to be a musician. For you there, Ma. So I went up for a month-long short-term study that Hollins does every year, and met essentially Tim Hauser and Marty Nelson, and who were trying to put a group together. And then we sang together, and it was absolutely insanely magical. And then we added Pat Rosalia, and the band was formed, and there we were.
When you formed, you had to have, I would think, some idea of what success would look like for you when you formed, or was it just the sheer magic and joy of it? I'm thinking you had a goal, but maybe you didn't.
Back then, we didn't think the way we think now. We didn't have like life coaches and stuff. No, we really didn't. And people didn't recognize PTSD. And there were not names for things like, manic depression. He's just nuts, So, no, we didn't have a plan. We knew we wanted to work. We knew we wanted to sing. And we started. We also knew what we wanted to do stylistically was explore everything. So really on that first album, we did country, we did folk, we did stuff from the 1930s, from Bix Beiderbecke and Gene Goldkett. We did 1950s and 60s and every possible, some rock. And we began gigging, and miraculously, Dick Asher from Capitol Records came to see us within the first 6 months, and we had a record deal. How does that happen? So after that...
Were you right out of college and you got a record deal?
Oh, I quit college. I was underage. My mother had to sign my record contract.
That is unbelievable.
Not a great pleasure either.
But that's unbelievable. That young, and you had that kind of success. What was that? What did your family... Hey, Paul, how are you? Welcome. What did your family say when you said, I'm quitting school and now I'm going to go do this, and we've got a record deal? What was their reaction?
They said, you're not quitting school. I said, well, I think I am quitting school. I think, the great thing about the outcome of the whole deal was that I lost both my parents quite young,
Sorry.
Not too long after we started Manhattan Transfer, but both of them lived long enough to see Manhattan Transfer take off and to see my studio career take off. So at least they knew that for all the pain and fear and discomfort and worry that I caused them, that, oh my gosh, my dad was able to say, did you see my daughter on television? That was meaningful because, this was very alien to them. And as much as my mother had been a dancer and had been a press agent, and they were very familiar with the industry, but this was not where they pictured their daughter, so that was great. Outcome good, right?
Well, sorry about your parents, but outcome very good. They're very proud of you. That's amazing. You move along through life. Manhattan Transfer gets bigger and bigger. What does that feel like? Does that bring you happiness, and why?
Manhattan Transfer got bigger and bigger really largely after I left. I stayed only 5 years. We got big enough to experience that. But, the short answer is no, nothing brings you happiness. You bring yourself happiness.
When did you learn that? That's very true. When did you learn that?
God, it took a while. The cliff notes are I quit the music business when I was about 30, oh gosh, 1 or 2.
Hmm.
The music industry was crashing and burning in New York, and I had been a studio singer on the top of my game among maybe 15 or 20 singers who worked, and we did everything, every album, every jingle. We did Kentucky Fried Chicken and Burger King and American Airlines and everything you could think of. And, I sang with, well, you saw, Roberta Flack and the Talking Heads and Leonard Cohen and James Brown, all in the studio, some as well as live. But when I quit, I moved to Hawaii. And Hawaii is one of the chakras of the planet. And everybody you meet there is either, hugely evolved or in recovery from something. And it took getting out of that New York scene for me to figure out that, I'm not my age, I'm not my resume, I'm not my bank account, I'm not my weight, I'm not my talent. I have value because I'm here. And when I figured that out, I realized that, all of it is generated within. I didn't know that in New York. When you're going into recording sessions and modeling appointments and they're saying, I don't like the nose. And, you go home going, what's wrong with my nose? It's, at 20 and 21, I think that's very hard. And I think that's why you saw, in the 70s and 80s, so much drug abuse and so many artists crash and burn. And, thankfully, most of them came back and survived and, did fine. But it was tough being young and dealing with that kind of pressure and hero worship, because it's not true. I mean, what's true is what's within you. And so if you believe your press, good or bad, you're headed down a bad path. There's a long-winded answer for you.
No, it's actually a magical answer, because Boomtank is also about personal development. It's truly half business, half personal development, and there's spirituality's tied into it as well. Very candid about all of that, because you need all of that. You're never a person in isolation. You are who you are in the collective. When you left music, you were obviously ready for something new. And you were willing to just go figure it out. And Paul, actually, who was just on, that's interesting about Paul, because Paul was a top accountant and he decided he was going to go do other things, and they were going to be online things. And he's very spiritual. He had a top right out of the gate spiritual podcast. He also has his own successful now digital marketing business. And he said to them, I'm going to leave because I've got to go figure this out. And they said, stay here. And he said, well, if I stay here, I'll never figure it out. Knew he needed the space to do that. So you claim that space. Yeah. Now you're in Hawaii, one of the big chakra places, as you say, on the planet. What happens next that takes you to the next thing? Was it just slowly one step at a time? What happened to you next?
I tried to not do music. I really tried. I tried as hard as I could.
Why did you want to stop music so badly? I mean, this is something you were raised with. Was it just too much? What was it?
I was burned out. I mean, the pressure was just, I didn't want to deal anymore with, not music specifically, but the things that surround being a professional. So, why not go to Hawaii? Typical New Yorker. Where else are you going to live, right? I went to Hawaii. I had to make a living. I, of course, met a genius jazz guitarist right off the bat, who became a great friend. And his father owned a company that did production payrolls for major motion pictures and major studios in Los Angeles. Started a division just to handle those production companies when they came to Hawaii, and I ran it and turned it into a $5 million a year business, did all the payrolls for the IATSE and the Teamsters, and, so it was pretty interesting. And all that time, developing this whole other skill set that really is the same as music, because numbers and computers and logic, all of that is what music theory is. So I took to it. I love it. I love it almost as much as I love music, doing numbers and things like that. So I ran that company for about 8 years, and music just, tap, tap, tap. Here I am. Hello. You can put me. So a little at a time, I moved back to music, which I guess was inevitable. It's my muse. What are you going to do?
At that point in your life, just if we stop right there, how were you, if at all, defining success, and how were you finding your happiness?
I don't think I ever thought specifically defining success for me. I felt tremendously empowered by having changed careers and taking a business from zero to success as a businesswoman and learning how to really run a business, I felt really empowered by that, because my whole life I'd been told by my accountants, listen, sweetheart, if it has to do with money, you put it in a nice shopping bag from Henry Bendel and you bring it over to our office and we'll take care of it. Because I'm blonde and I'm a chick singer, I'm too stupid to do bookkeeping, So when I got this company going and I managed it and I ran it and I had 10 employees that I handled, the empowerment was tremendous. Again, you can't equate happiness with that. Happiness is what you find within yourself, and you can be on top of the world and be miserable. So, I just don't see any like collaboration between the two. That's the wrong word. Any connection between the two.
Let me try to throw out my theory and see what you think. This is why I connected to. Because I came from a corporate world, me included, everybody had tons of success, miserable. So what I see is when you have success, and success to me, my personal definition, is right. You are in complete alignment using your gifts the way you're intended to use them, and you're feeling great about that. That's success for you. You're achieving what you feel you're meant to be doing in a given time. And when you have that, that's where your happiness comes. For at least for me and for the people that I work with, it seems when you have that alignment, and it's true success for you, the outer success, not being top of the chart, not getting a record label when you're 19. It's when you are doing what you love doing and you're doing it really well. That's success. And then happiness comes from that. That's the whole premise behind this. It's really a new look at success and a new look at happiness. And it's exactly what you're saying. We're just using different words to say it, I believe.
Also toss in, Carolyn, I'd have to toss in fulfillment. I wouldn't say success, because some of the most fulfilled moments in my life have brought me no money, no fame, no nothing tangible, other than that my soul is rich. Mm-hmm. So I'd have to add that element to it, and yeah, we're saying the same.
No, I totally am with you on that. And what's so interesting is that when I was bouncing where Boomtank meets success and happiness, people said, well, you're really talking about fulfillment. And I said, but I don't want to use that word. And for a variety of reasons, I still don't want to use it, because when you use it, people are like, when you say happiness, you get their attention, but it is about happiness comes from fulfillment. It comes from belonging. It comes from showing up and having a mission, a purpose, and exercising it. Do you agree with that?
I do, but I take you one farther.
Okay.
Let's drill down into this, baby.
Good.
I think happiness is a decision. In some of the worst times of my life and least successful times, and times when I didn't have a direction, I didn't know what was going to go next, I could be perfectly happy. Not satisfied or ready to just give up and let it be what it is. But I guess I'm lucky that I've been a happy person my whole life. And so all the other things, while they play into it and while they are certainly part of building a wholeness in oneself, particularly with artists, we really need that. You also have the choice on any given day. I mean, Mother Teresa said that, it's not what you experience, it's how you experience what you experience.
So let's stop there, because this is fascinating. Okay, and I wanted to pick up with the business stuff in a bit, but I love this because here's why. You hear things like this. You see, if you go through your social media feeds, you see all of these upbeat things, which I actually love the upbeat. I can read upbeat all day long, even if it's hokey or I've seen it like 500 million times, the same quote, but it's now dressed differently. I don't mind seeing upbeat every single second. But when you say, it's your choice to be happy, people say, that's fine, but I'm not happy. I'm going through a really unhappy time now. There are different things happening to me. So it's kind of a grand idea to be happy, but if you're unhappy, how do you get back? And what I tell different people that I've worked with is that, listen, especially when you hear people say, rah, rah, go get happy, and, it's a choice. You're like, ugh, if I hear that one more time, I'm just going to put a fish up against their head, right? I'm just going to throw a bunch of fish out of my freezer at their head. I can't stand it. But here's the thing, and I actually live streamed on this past Sunday, is that you have to, if you're in that spot, consciously make time for your happiness, even if you're not. And I'm not talking about being grief-stricken or if you're in terrible grief or terrible trauma. We're not talking about that, because that's a whole different bailiwick. But if we're talking about just the day-to-day frustration of life, being lost in life, things aren't going as planned, but it's not cataclysmic, and you're not going to lose your life, we're not talking about those situations. If you make plans for your happiness, even if you're unhappy and you show up for something. Like I wasn't dreadfully unhappy, but I had to build more happiness in. So I went and played pickleball last Sunday night for like 2 hours here at the beach. And it was wonderful because I was like, I had so many other things to tee up for Monday, right? And I said, no, I have to consciously make time for my happiness. And I haven't played. I used to play all the time years ago. I'm going to go pick up, find a group and go. And I did. And I was so happy afterward, even though I didn't necessarily have the time. And I was like, oh, I could be doing other things with this, more productive. I'm like, I have to consciously make time to go do something that makes me happy. And that in turn, guess what? It made me happy. And it was wonderful to connect with other people, to play, to do things. So that's something that I'm doing. I'm putting happiness back in because yes, it's from within, but sometimes you have to take different kind of measures to get back in that zone. Do you agree with that? Do you agree with that one?
Not me, man.
It's funny. They're funny.
Yes, I think, I work with a guy now who constantly says, I can't think about that right now. I need to think about just this one thing and accomplish it, and whether it's in business or in personal. Because sometimes one has to do what you're talking about. Take it away from the big picture, take it away from everything, and do one focused thing. Oh my gosh, I got it done. How cool. Isn't that great? And that could be playing or working or, doing a task. But cooking, by the way, is very much like music in that it is a quote, now activity. You can't be thinking about your mortgage or money or your relationship or your health or your family or anything that's dogging you. Because you're busy, you'll burn it or you'll sing it out of tune. It's the same sort of thing. And that's why I think both of those arts are transformational for people, whether they do it professionally or they go and eat good food or listen to music or create it, because it puts you in the moment. And that's sort of what you're talking about with pickleball.
In the moment, you're in at a new experience. You're actually part of a new experience. Years ago, when the Cooking Channel launched in 1993, 94, oh my gosh, I watched it like 24/7, it seemed, for like 8 or 9 years. And then I went off and did other things. And I absolutely loved it because it was just the whole creation. It was the creation around food. It was a way to welcome people into your home in a very special way or participate in their lives in a very special way. It's very, it's like you say, it's very healing. And so is music. Great energies, very healing energies. Oh, I love talking to you. This is fantastic. So let's go with that cooking piece that you beautifully brought in and tell us about your gourmet spice line. That's a reinvention. Okay, that's something new. It's a continuation, as you say, but I'm going to call it not a reinvention. It's an invention. All right, so you have now moved into gourmet seasoning. Tell us about that.
Well, yeah, as my husband says, you have so much time on your hands and we don't have enough debt. Let's open a business.
Good man. Go ahead. That's funny.
It's been a passion for years. I owned restaurants in New York with other musicians. I cooked in my restaurants. I studied d'Escoffier and, so cooking has been a thing for me. And actually, I was working with a publicist and we were talking about, a larger dimension to music because it's very tough to have any significant point of difference from the next 700 million artists. And so we thought, wouldn't it be, really brilliant to combine the food and the music? And I started doing what I call gourmet concerts, which is just what I did with Paul on Sunday night. We looked and we talked about the food and talked about the wines and then sat down and sang. And people love that. So I created a brand called Sizzle Swing, obviously because I like to sizzle and I swing. And I mean that in the nicest way. So
I love the name, by the way. I love the name. I think it's a great name.
Yeah. And I've developed a line of all natural, sugar-free, gluten-free gourmet seasonings that are hand-blended, small batch, all sourced in the United States by very high-end providers. And I have 12 different flavors. And the idea is to make gourmet cooking come easy for the non-professional. You're not going to have 17 ingredients if you want to make a Tuscan grill of some sort. You're not going to go out and get, fennel and all these different things and orange rind, and you're not going to do it. So I've provided these these combinations that make it really easy. And frankly, with all my experience, I cook with my own stuff. I don't buy the or I use my Tuscan seasoning. And so I've enjoyed doing that and combining the two. And, when you think about it, when you're home cooking, you've got great music on, right? And you're grooving and they both go together. So yeah, and Paul does the same thing. Obviously, I'm not the only one who thought of this.
What is your favorite food?
So, you'll never get that answer. You'll be on the phone with me until next week, Thursday, if you ask me that question.
No, I need something. I need a little rough. Give me just like how about a category?
All ethnic
vegan,
food.
Seafood, poultry, beef. What is it for you? Food. Just food.
Ethnic.
Okay, ethnic food. Okay, good. I want everybody to check out her spices. I mean, they're in gorgeous little silver canisters. They make great gifts, and I think they're very cool. Hello, Pascal. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining live. The sizzleandswing.net is that website, correct, where your gourmet seasoning is?
Yep, .com or .net. You can
I went to the .net website.
Yeah, either one. Okay. Doesn't matter.
All right, tell us what you've got coming up. How can we support you?
I'm prepping for the Atlanta Gift Show, which is a huge to-do at America's Mart in Atlanta, where I will be doing some demo cooking, which is great fun, and working with my seasoning, my reps down there. That'll be in July. I'm also booking right now and in sort of rehearsals with a wonderful vibraphonist named David Friedman, whom I worked regularly in New York, and he now has lived in Berlin for 40 years. And we are planning a tour for next spring. And in the meantime, I've got pickup stuff, concerts like Paul does, and he and I are doing a big show in September at the beach, which we will let you know more about as it evolves.
Would you please? I'll be happy to promote that on my page. I'd be happy to help out, and hopefully I'm free to make it. I really wanted to come Sunday night, but I couldn't. I had a conflict, so it was after pickleball. That was part of my conflict. Yeah.
Pickleball up, did it?
Well, no, I actually had a call late Sunday, so I couldn't do it. I had pre-scheduled calls. So yeah, just a little bit more about the gourmet seasoning. You were partnered in restaurants in New York City. That's huge.
Yeah.
Right. Did you by chance know Anthony Bourdain?
No. Oh my God, broke my heart. Oh.
Yeah. How about that? Yeah. You decide for this gourmet seasoning. How did you go about starting this business, and what are you doing to push it forward? I don't want to lose that because that's huge, and you're taking this nationally. You're taking it on the road.
Absolutely. I'm in a unique situation because I don't have time for music and I don't have time for food. So I go back and forth between the two as need be. Right now I'm on a huge sizzle thing, and then next spring I'm going to be on a huge music thing. I thought about it. To start it, really, I just started playing with flavors. I knew I wanted to do seasonings. I knew I wanted to do small batch. I'm going to continue to do them small batch until I am forced to go to somebody to manufacture them for me. I tried it and they came back tasting like sticks, So the goal was I wanted to make the home cook find it easy to develop recipes that tasted like they came out of a professional kitchen. And when you use my seasoning, you'll be like, wow, shoot, boy, that was easy. So I started out with 4 flavors, and then I thought, well, I need a little more. I'm now up to a dozen. My latest one is called Sailor's Blend, which is the only one that comes in a plastic container, a big one. And it's an all-purpose seasoning with no style, and it's made for people who cruise on their boats. And sort of, the way a Montreal seasoning would work, you can put on almost anything. And so, and I have a new Greek seasoning, and I've got a Meyer lemon and basil, and all different kinds of flavors.
I went in and looked at all of them. I mean, they look incredible. They look really tasty. Yeah, they do.
We do best in small gourmet stores, and so I have reps up and down the eastern seaboard, and I have some reps in the Midwest and in California as well. And a little at a time, we grow.
How did you go about setting up your reps? I'm just curious.
I went to, I attended a couple food shows. I went to the New York Gift Show, and I went to the Fancy Food Show, and I talked to people and met reps and sent my wares around. And, I found a couple of rep groups that we have some just synergy with, and that makes sense. Wonderful group called Homeware Sales, out of Florida with whom I will show in Atlanta, and it just we are just meant for one another, and they have a huge hundreds of lines of cooking apparatus and stuff. So that's fun.
Is that the kind of thing that when you look down the road, you might want that in major stores, or are you keeping it for the local boutiques?
Yes and no. I would take, I'm looking at some smaller supermarkets through a rep that I'm starting to work with. I'm also speaking to a couple of small privately owned stores that have maybe 10 locations, that sort of thing. But once you get into Whole Foods and Giant and all that, it's a different world. And then I'm going to have to go out to a formulary house, and then I'm out of control of it. And so I'm not ready psychically to be there.
You're an artist. Once you claim that space, you can't really breathe the other air. Your air is pure air. You know what your air is. You just do. When you define winning in business, you may rebel against that concept. I don't know what I'm going to get from you, but I'm going to ask you if you could help us understand what it takes to win in business. And that can be your music business, that can be your gourmet spice business, or business in general. What do you think it takes to win in business?
Persistence.
Oh, I love that. I just did a piece on that, by the way. Yeah.
You have to just keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even matter if you're streaky or you have bad times and good times. You just have to do it. I look at the music business, and I left sort of at the height of my career because I just couldn't take it anymore. And I saw the studio business taking a nosedive. And that's when I moved to Hawaii. And every friend of mine who stayed and kept banging away in that environment and had the heart to do it, I just didn't want to do it. I didn't want it bad enough to go through that. Every one of them is a big star. Bette Midler and Melissa Manchester, Barry Manilow, they all stayed.
What was for you, because you're from the inside, and this is so useful to people watching this, because this is the magical piece besides everything else you've said, because this is another big piece. In a world that doesn't recognize perseverance and the power of it, this is so powerful to remind people it's a superpower we all have. What was the turning point in your mind for Bette Midler, for Barry Manilow? What was the turning point in that persistence where the momentum finally gave way and the gates finally opened? What was that?
I don't think you can put a finger on it. I think everybody and every business, every person, it's just about tipping points. It's about tipping points. Extraordinary talent with all of them. I think back then is not what it is now. Back then, if you became recognized and got a deal and you got the right agent and the right manager, they could push you over the top. That doesn't happen anymore, and every business is affected in the same way music is, in that, there aren't, 15 spice companies now. There are 15 billion spice companies, and so if you're looking for new music, there aren't 10 record labels, and if you go to Atlantic, you're getting R&B, and if you go to Warner Brothers, you're getting James Taylor, and, you can choose by the style of the record label. That doesn't exist anymore, so it's a free-for-all. So I really think it's an individual tipping point. I'm seeing Paul Cullen reaching a tipping point now.
Yeah, he's
getting there. He's been.
So let's talk about that. This is the lesson, and you're out there doing it too. I mean, you're in the hustle too. It's visibility. It's getting seen again and again and again. Right. You agree with that? I mean, it has to be.
Right, I do. Hang on, let me make this phone not work. There we go. Sorry about that.
That could have been Paul right now.
Yeah, it may happen again. My phone, I have not figured out. I can run a digital recording studio, and I cannot, for the life of me, figure out how to make my phone not ring. There you go. Anyway.
I got a solution. Put it in the freezer. That's what I do with mine. It works. I'm just kidding you. I'm kidding. All right. Well, I love that piece about the tipping point, because I keep saying visibility is the lifeblood of your business. Here's the reality. To me, and I'm so biased with this, and I admit I'm so biased with this, I think visibility is one of the biggest pieces of your life. I think because for those who don't show up and who don't do what it is that's inside of them, you're just setting yourself up for a lot of regret at the back nine. And It's so avoidable. And even at the back nine, you can make a recovery if you want to get visible. I'm so passionate about people not wasting their time on this planet and getting seen and getting heard in a world that celebrates average. And abnormal is anything that is not normal for the average. We're called upon to understand persistence. We're called upon to understand visibility and getting visible with our gifts. And you didn't even stop at music. You just went for the next thing you loved that you knew you could share and that your husband got you busy with gourmet seasoning. I mean, that is just super cool. How about some life advice for the folks?
I would say the exact opposite of what I was told, which is follow your heart. Just follow your heart. You know, if you are fortunate enough to find something in life that gives you joy and makes you passionate, and it doesn't matter if it's, you know, caring for somebody else's baby or politics or music, or it doesn't matter what it is. But if you find something that gives you purpose, then go with it. Don't look for money. Don't look for success. That will come if you're doing something that is right for you, that is authentic for you, that you believe in. I mean, I think that's the only thing I could say.
I think it was beautiful. Well done. Well done for being on the spot. I love that. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you for bringing so much wisdom and heart to the interview. I really appreciate your transparency. It's going to help a lot of people. And I think people need to be reminded to show up, be persistent, and follow your heart. I can't think of any greater messages for today. That was a trifecta. What are your sites? How can we support you? Put it all out there one more time for those who just jumped in late.
For music, ErinDickins.com. For seasonings, sizzleandswing.com. Twitter handle is at Erin Dickins with an INS, not an ENS. And Facebook is facebook.com/Erin Dickins fan page. And also facebook.com/Sizzle and Swing.
Perfect. And I will have all of those links in the show notes for this episode on boomtank.com. Please visit, please subscribe. Again, if you love this video, if you like it, if you find worth and all that great stuff, please share this video out with others. Like my business page, facebook.com/the Boomtank to support the show. Please visit Erin's links, all of that, and support Erin. I wish you the very best. I'm so excited to see what you do next. And I think you are at yet again another tipping point. And I'm going to be ordering some of those spices. I'm going to let you know. Maybe I'll send you a little video when I throw things around the kitchen.
Great, Carolyn. Thank you so much for having me. What a pleasure.
Terrific interview, Erin. Thank you. What a career. And now she's reaching another tipping point with her gourmet seasoning line, Sizzle and Swing. Love it. Remember what she said about inner happiness? Most times you decide it. And what she said about persistence. Persist to succeed. Stay aligned, stay true to you, follow your heart for happiness too. That's a nice little rhyme. As always, hope this one helps you. That is a wrap. Take great care. See you back here. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to the Boomtank Business Show. I so appreciate you listening, and you know I do. If you like the show, please leave a 5-star rating and some nice comments on iTunes, or subscribe on the free podcast listening app Stitcher for Android users or Google Play. And tell a friend. Join Boomtank's email list at boomtank.com and download your free instant audio training. It's 2 audio downloads. The first one, 10 top life and business lessons from my expert guests, and the second, a super success meditation you are going to love. Be sure to check out my coaching and consulting tab on boomtank.com and the speaking tab to book me as your next professional speaker or featured guest. Catch my live streams on boomtank.com or on Boomtank's YouTube channel, youtube.com/user/the Boomtank. Now get out there and create your success and happiness. See you right here next time.